Alrighty, a very happy Friday, and welcome back to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is April 24th of 2026, and on today's episode, we are going to get you down ready for the weekend to come here. It's a busy weekend in the sports world, and we're just going to kind of glide on through with our sports conversation. The Reds are back in town. They've had a really good road trip. They are getting ready to take on the Detroit Tigers in a three-game series. It is Hall of Fame weekend. Tomorrow night, we will celebrate and honor the Hall of Famers, the people who have paved the way here in Cincinnati for Major League Baseball. We'll look at who's going to be inducted into the Reds Hall of Fame. We'll take a look at the upcoming series and the Detroit Tigers, what they have to come to play, as well as we'll take a look at what to expect out of the Tigers as one of the teams that we had projected to be a really good team heading into 2026. They come off of a weekend last season. They come off of a division win, which I think honestly shocked a lot of people. I know that shocked me. So hey, they are playing good. They are expected to be good, as the record states. They're not playing too bad, but they could become better. The other thing I want to talk about today will obviously take you a look down on the farm system, what's going on midweek for the series between our minor league baseball teams. We'll get you guys ready for Cincinnati Bearcats, who are back at action at UC Baseball Stadium in Big 12 play. We'll take a look at the NBA playoffs, getting you guys ready what to expect this weekend, as well as WWE SmackDown, the aftermath of WrestleMania rolls over to tonight on SmackDown. So we want to go ahead and talk about that. And I'm going to throw out that question here. I want to wait until SmackDown ends, so I'll bring this up on Monday. But what I wanted to have the conversation about is kind of already predicting WrestleMania matches for next year. What could we kind of put together based off of what we saw already heading into 2027? I want to share with you something that I strongly believe in, and one of the masterminds behind of planning and game changing and all that stuff. I want to share with you that today, so we'll do that in our program. But let's get underway with night one of the NFL draft. The 2026 NFL draft took place last night. Um, and I kind of want to get our initial results and thoughts and actions towards it. Um, so first and foremost, what do you guys think of the 2026 draft thus far? I like the shorter times. Okay. I think I read yesterday that it was 10 minutes for the first round. I think they bumped it down to 8 minutes. I don't think teams need to take 5 to 10 minutes to even pick their draft. They should have A, B, C, and D listed. So I understand that there's a part of it where it builds suspense for a team. Are they going to choose who, or if that person got picked off the board for them, who are their alternative runs? I understand that, and I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me to the fine definition here, but it really drags out to what to what the concept is. If you're a team who is picking 28, 29, 31, and you're out there on the East Coast, you're staying up until more so to 11:30, because these things can drag out. So I don't know what it is. I don't want to take away from the suspense, the build up, the excitement, but I want to make sure that that everyone has a fair share. For me, particularly, I'm kind of associating the names, the interest levels of what the first handful of draft picks go through. Maybe I'm following Ohio State. Maybe I'm following particularly Fernando Mendoza, or maybe I'm just particularly following the Cincinnati Reds and who they're going to pick. And we don't have a pick in the first round this year. We got Dexter Lawrence in substitute. So the overall, it kind of fits both ways. And so I do pay attention to the list on our Facebook page. I put up the first round picks. There was a lot of trading that went on, expected. But there's just science to this. And some teams fail, some teams succeed at picking up talented players. For me, I would never, as much as I would love to be in the war room of a team who is trying to find the next big thing, I just don't know if I could do it. Okay. So I am, for one, to just honestly just, hey, I move on, I'll watch it, I'll enjoy it. And then after the fact, we could talk about it. But is there any selections from the first round that caught you off by a surprise? Yeah, let me just give a shout out here. People down in the comments at Arrow, is it Arizor? Is that the pronunciation on that? Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let's talk some sports topics you have in mind. Bring it up, and we'll share you my thoughts here as we go through today's episode. But thank you. Um, right now, we're talking about the first round of the draft. Thoughts, opinions. If you want to talk baseball, you want to talk wrestling, wherever you want to talk about, just bring it up in the chat, and we'll try to squeeze it in. NFL. Yep, let's talk about NFL. I First round of the draft. Fernando Mendoza goes with the Raiders. Anticipated. I was just breaking down. To be honest, I do not feel that these nights need to be extended out as long as they do. Talk baseball. We'll talk the Reds later on in our program today. The Hall of Fame coming up for the Cincinnati Reds this weekend. Getting you guys ready for the weekend and the series. But I was looking through this draft. There's a couple of names that, they got picked where I expected them to be picked. Carnell Tate to Tennessee, number 4. I was interested to seeing what the Giants did with the extra hand of, draft picks. Because they done their due diligence. They traded their, Dexter Lawrence for the 10th round pick. So that means they have 2 round picks overall in the first 10 picks. So you feel like if you're the New York Giants, this is that golden ticket. The pivotal opportunity that you get 2, not 1 within the top 10, you get 2 picks. You can't mess this up, can you? So I'm interested for the Giants fans when you pick up Arvil Reese from Ohio State, great linebacker, and then you have an offensive tackle. You pick up an offense, defensive player. How well was the pick selected for the Giants have gone? And it got me thinking. We picked up Dexter Lawrence because the players that the Bengals were associating themselves with in this draft pick, they didn't like. Whatever they didn't like in the 10th round, they picked. So they decided to trade it, pick up someone they were familiar with their work on the field. And how can you beat, to be honest, the 3rd best defensive lineman? Well, I had high hopes because we're paying attention to what the Bengals needed. The Bengals need a cornerback. The Bengals need linebackers. I was in favor. We could still add edge rushers. So Caleb Downs was some guy, some player on my radar that the Bengals could have picked up in the 10th overall pick. You got Ruben Bain Jr., who was another. I expected them to go up a lot higher than where they went up in the draft. As a matter of fact, I was surprised that the Cowboys at 11 was able to secure Caleb Downs. And what it got me thinking was, let's play this what if game. What if we never traded for Dexter Lawrence? What if we never picked up Dexter Lawrence and we still have the 10th round pick? Where would we be sitting at here today overall? And would we have gotten the opportunity for picking up Caleb Downs? So let's weigh in the options for a moment. Is Caleb Downs better than Dexter Lawrence in hindsight? He's a young talent player. He works well in the backfield. Someone that if he was available, I'd go ahead and jump on him by full on mean stretch. Jeremiah, but I mean, I wasn't interested in picking up Jeremiah Love. I wasn't interested in picking up Carnell Tate early on. We needed to address our focus point. And so, like I said, we go back around. Caleb Downs was one of them. I circle on this chart who was dropped down to number 11. You're telling me that 9 other teams didn't need Caleb Downs, the first safety to go. I go down to, you got Caden Proctor, who went at 12 with Miami. You had Bain Jr., an edge rusher, who went out in number 15 with Tampa Bay. Blake Miller, Caleb Banks, a couple other players on that list of mine. Malachi Lawrence at number 23. So I am just skeptic. I hope, and I'm going to remain optimistic when talking about this. I hope that the Bengals are, hey, they trust in their system. They know what they're doing. And we have a resurgence coming from Dexter Lawrence. And I do feel like there is a positive aspect that comes into this trade. But now we're looking at, well, what if? The big what if question approaches. And I just don't like that situation. If Caleb Downs becomes someone of a great defensive backfield for the Dallas Cowboys, I feel like we'd missed out on that opportunity. Proctor, another protector for Joe Burrow. Bain Jr. could have the potential over the next 3 to 5 years to be the best, a great, if not the best, edge rusher. But it is what it is. I was looking through this list. It was great to see San Diego State. Loved San Diego, born and raised. Became a late college San Diego State Aztecs fan in their football program. Began actually in basketball when they started on that nice run over a decade ago. And from there, it's one thing after another. Chris Johnson, the cornerback from San Diego State, went out, got drafted number 27 overall to the Miami Dolphins. Ty Simpson, the second best quarterback on this list, went out to got drafted by the Los Angeles Rams, and I think that's a good notion. So we're looking now, moving forward. Right now, the best available is Jamon McCoy right now. And to begin the second round, the San Francisco 49ers will get the nod. McCoy is he's a cornerback. That's another guy we need, Emmanuel McNeil. So we have to wait 9 picks, 8 picks before we make our first selection. So I really don't have anybody on this list. I don't have any names that I'd like to see. I have anybody that, we'll have to talk about who the Bengals select. 7 selections this weekend. And that begins tonight. Number 41 overall. 9th pick of the second round. and I guess we'll have to go through there. So, what are your thoughts of the NFL draft? Did you like any deals or any trades that you guys picked out? We will keep you guys posted and updated with what's going on the draft throughout the weekend the best we can. Want to go ahead and shift to what we can expect coming in this weekend. The Detroit Tigers. Let me just get you guys prepped up and ready for that. Detroit Tigers come into town, and I got to tell you that the Detroit Tigers, they're supposed to be a really good ball club, and I truly believe that they have a special young um, talent uh, for what they have to present themselves here with. Um, they come in, they're 14 and 12. They're 7 and 3 over the last 10 games. They swept the Kansas City Royals last week. They took 1 out of 4 in Boston over the weekend, and then they won the series back at home against the Milwaukee Brewers. Detroit, like I said, one of those teams that I actually had winning the division. They went out, they got Kevin McGonigal, Colt Keith, playing really good baseball. McGonigal 319, a home run, 14 walks to 14 strikeouts, with only one stolen base to his resume thus far, 2026 campaign. Colt Keith batting 315. They're not getting it done with the long balls. I'll tell you that early on. 5 home runs um, is tied for the highest for the Detroit in the month of April and the last few days of March. Kevin Carpenter, Dingler, both tied at 5 home runs each. So you're going to get beat when it comes down to your offense ability. They're going to score in runs on you. I'll tell you that. 10-9. Um, they put up 6 ones. Something that the Reds could definitely learn off of is that the Tigers, when they play good, they do score in a lot of runs. And so that's something to keep an eye out here for coming up series. It's a 3-game series beginning tonight at 6:40. We'll got Framber Valdez on the mound for the Tigers, that former Astros pitcher taking on left-handed pitcher Andrew Abbott. I'll tell you this, that this is going to be a very tough pitching matchup this weekend. The Reds are going to really have to get out offensively early on. I still think that Valdez has some really good stuff. Maybe it's not seen here early on in the season, but when he gets ready, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Still such a key player to the Tigers pitching rotation. Jake Flaherty will be on the mound Saturday, Hall of Fame day. We'll talk about that here in length in just a moment. Brady Singer will be on the mound um, for the game number 2. And on Sunday at 1:45 or at 1:40, Peter Monterio will be on the mound for the Tigers, taking on Brett Lauder. Loved our pitching. We've had a really good road stand. I like to see the Reds just bounce off of that. We're playing about 500 baseball at home. Something I like to see change. We'll have 3 games here this weekend at Great American Ballpark. We'll take Monday off before taking on the Colorado Rockies at home. And that starts next week. We'll have a big conversation because that starts a uh, very big consecutive game streak that, you know, we have yet to see days off implemented with Gino and Ellie De La Cruz. So we like to, if Terry Francona is serious about this team, serious about giving people rest where they're needed to be rest at, you're gonna have to give one of these guys a day off. And I was actually very surprised we didn't see a day off from one of these guys earlier on in this week. Ellie De La Cruz kind of got banged up a little bit. You saw it, and I know. Look, here's the notorious thing: if you're gonna ask a baseball player, "Hey, do you need a day off? You need a rest?" They're gonna tell you no. They're gonna wanna play 162 games. They're gonna wanna go out there every 5 days, and they're gonna wanna get the ball every opportunity they can out of the bullpen too. So, but as a manager, as a coaching staff, you really have to separate yourself from what your players want to what's best for the team overall. And I'm not looking for the next series by series here. We have to think, and it's Terry Francona's position to think, well, how do I want my players to be? I know they're going to be banged up. We can't take that away. We know that they're going to be fatigued in August and September. How do I give our team the best chance of less fatigue, less banged up? And that starts off with giving these guys some games off. I mean, if you're telling me that 5, 6 days, I talked about this at the beginning of the season. We walked through the calendar together and drew out this game plan where we could have sat Ellie Dela Cruz on a getaway day. Wednesday, win, lose, or draw, it didn't matter. Wednesday, Ellie, it was a perfect opportunity to see Ellie Dela Cruz sit and rest and not play whatsoever in that game. Okay. And you think about this. This is, hey, we're on the road where you just got banged up. We already took the series. We have a winning road stance. So we're positive whatever the outcome is in this game. We have a day off tomorrow. So we get to travel home and we're going to get ready for a upcoming series. This is a perfect opportunity to see Ali De La Cruz sit out and benched out. Okay. I think that Terry Francona needs to do a better job. I know we're only in the month of April, but if you're telling me that 5 games, 5, 6, 7 games is going to make or break how this Reds team, and if you're telling me that if Ellie De La Cruz is out of the lineup so bad, he cannot miss, then it's bad. You're telling me that the rest of this team cannot perform at the big level. And that is truly concerning to me. Same thing with Gino. Gino getting those days off. I know he's mainly a DH. Sal Stewart resting him. You can't tell me that we can't put in Nathaniel Lowe from time to time and let Sal Stewart rest. So I think Terry Francona, I'm not trying to go bash on our manager. I think Terry Francona has a great squad. I think he knows how to use them accordingly. But I have yet to see it. I don't want our actions in April and May to be the result of how we finish negative at the end of the season. We've seen that so many times last year, and yet we don't want this to take place again. So it's very important. I'm very concerning to that. And I do have faith. I do have trust in our coaching staff to make that happen. But I got to tell you, it's not looking good to me, in my opinion. But Detroit Tigers, man, they are second place, 14-12. They are just in second place behind the Cleveland Guardians, Minnesota in the American League Net Central, 12-13 followed by the Chicago White Sox, who are 10-15, and then the Kansas City Royals are only 8-17, finding themselves in last place of the American League Central. Um, I'll testify to this, and something that I really what bothers me the most when it comes down to people looking at Major League Baseball here, the Centrals, they get overlooked often. I'll be honest with you, they get overlooked. We don't ever really, you know, talk about, a lot of teams, they have potential, but your best teams right now in baseball, although no matter how good the NL Central is doing, uh, American League Central is doing, your best teams are coming from the Dodgers, coming from the Padres, they're coming from the Yankees, or even the Toronto Blue Jays, which our person who was commenting early on in the program mentioned that probably a fan of the Blue Jays. So let's talk about the Blue Jays. Just brief second. We'll get back on track here. Blue Jays. They're back at home. Rogers Center. 10-14. 14 going up against the Guardians this weekend. Uh, Not too bad. It's a very tough division. I really admire it. And the problem is with the Blue Jays. Injuries has really hurt the Blue Jays from what they could be this season. Look, hopefully everything's turned around, but Toronto, they came back from Anaheim taking on the Angels earlier this week. They lost on Wednesday 7-3. They won. Did they win on Tuesday? Let's find out here. Yeah, they won on Tuesday 4-2. And on Monday, they did beat the Angels 5-2. So a nice, good series win as they come back home to take on the Cleveland Guardians. Blue Jays find themselves in fourth place of the American League East. They're 5.5 games back of the New York Yankees. And boy, like I said, look, injuries has really hurt them early on. And, they're not really playing too good over the last several games. They're on a 1 game losing streak, 4-6. So they really got to turn themselves around here. They're on negative on the run differentials, and they're 9-15 against winning teams. So, looking to turn things around. They're 6-6 at home. And then the Cleveland Guardians are 6-7 on the road. So they're facing up a pretty good squad there. But with that being said, let's take a look at what's going on in the Uh, National League, excuse me, National League Central here before we get into the Reds Hall of Fame coming up here on Saturday. The National League Central. The Cubs currently are tied with the Reds in first place of the NL Central. They are both sitting at 16-9. The Cardinals are 14-10. The Pirates are 14-11, and Milwaukee is 13-11. Every team still has a winning record. And one thing I'll tell you, another big week coming up next week, and even the week after that stretch that we're coming up on, beginning Tuesday. I'll tell you, two of the four series, I believe. I think it's four total series. Well, two of them are coming up against the NL Central Division rivals. We'll have three in Pittsburgh and four in Chicago. And just let me remind you, the second series of the season, Pittsburgh Pirates came into town and took a beating on those Cincinnati Reds. So we're looking to turn things around here. But Pittsburgh and Milwaukee is going to do some damage this weekend out there at American Family Field in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They begin a 3 game series tonight. First pitch expected to throw out between them two is at 7:40. Then following up, St. Louis back at home, Busch Stadium, taking on the Seattle Mariners, who are 11-15. That first pitch tonight is at 8:15. And then we have the Cubs visiting the Dodgers, the good old Cub and Dodgers rivalry here. The Dodgers are 17-8, and they're on a fire roll. That first pitch is at 10:15. A couple of series to look out for heading into this weekend. We are -1 game tonight as the Padres and Arizona get ready to take on each other in a 2 game series out at the Estadio Alfredo Harp Helio in Mexico. I think it's in Mexico, right? Let's preview that. Both games will be played at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Will be Mexico City, Mexico. Saturday, Michael King will take on we'll see Brian Nelson. And that game is available on the MLB showcases of TV. And then Sunday they'll have the game also. I think this game is at 6:05. So 6:05 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Marquez versus Zach Gallen, and then you'll see the Sunday showdown there. Love those little series. Got to be honest. It's a neutral site. Doesn't mean anyone has an advantage over it, but the Padres are playing really good baseball. And then Sunday night baseball, two teams that you kind of really just don't expect: the Angels and the Royals. Angels enter in on 12-14. The 8-7 Royals are looking for that Sunday night baseball. That's available on Peacock or NBC. So some Sunday night baseball there. Kind of transition you over to what else we're looking at. Got the Phillies over in Atlanta as well. So those are the games to look at as well. On our MLB The Show franchise mode series, I do apologize for those who are following us on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. We are trying to catch up. I got games downloading right now. Going to be uploading here later on this evening. Going to begin our weekend series. That is a priority. I'm trying to get another episode posted for our MLB Road to the Show series. We just got drafted. Forgot what team it's for. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks. And so we begin our minor league season. I want to get that going here this weekend, get you an episode out. So we are a little bit behind with these next couple of days off after series, looking to get caught up. But I really do want to get caught up and stay caught up for the most part. So I do appreciate everyone's patience. We will get more episodes out there for you. Uh, so last homestands. So the last homestands, we saw the new City Connect uniforms for the Cincinnati Reds get displayed, and we saw the red on red pinstripe, something that we really enjoyed seeing, and so we will see that again this Saturday. Don't forget, tonight is the black on black City Connect, and also just to give you some good news in relations, we do have the new City Connect uniforms uploaded to our MLB The Show franchise mode, which means that this upcoming series, I know we still got to post all the series for the Rays, but the upcoming series with the Tigers, we'll see the first game with the black on black and then the pinstripe red on red City Connect uniforms. I'm excited to be able to play with those uniforms this weekend. It's going to be interesting to see how they present. One of my goals will be to try to get all 8 new ball clubs City Connect uniforms in a franchise mode exhibition game, whether that's we're playing them or whether that's also, uh, just CPU versus CPU. So stay tuned for that as well. As well as it's also still new to see the Dodgers wear those blue tops as well. But on Saturday, along with the City Connect uniforms, the first pitch of the Tigers and Reds game 2 of a 3-game series was at 7:15. We're going to celebrate the 2026 Cincinnati Reds inductees this season, as we have second baseman Brandon Phillips, we have right-handed pitcher Aaron Harang, we have outfielder Reggie Sanders, and we'll have manager Lou Piniella all being inducted into the class of the 2026 Hall of Fame. Brandon Phillips, who spent 11 seasons with the Cincinnati Reds, became a fan favorite, known to a stellar defense, 4 gold gloves, and a power of speed combining, including a 30 for 30 season. What was interesting I saw on the news is that Brandon Phillips has decided, and the Cincinnati Reds have came to terms to a 1-day contract so that Brandon Phillips could retire as a Cincinnati Reds. And you know, growing up, I I- I- so I- let me put it in this perspective. And I've told this story before earlier this year, and this is one of the stories I relate back to time and time again. But the Cincinnati, when I grew up and I went out to Padres games, and I'd always get their magazine. And in their magazine, it told us, well, what's going down on the farm, what's going on. Let's talk about a specific player on the roster. What are the new players? What are our upcoming matchups? And who should we look out for? Well, you know, I get the magazine. The Reds comes into town. And Brandon Phillips, Joey Votto, always were the 2 pristine players that stuck out. And so Brandon Phillips was dangerous on the speed. I didn't see anyone as dangerous around the bases other than the last in comparison. I'm going to compare him to a Ricky Henderson. He had a really good defensive glove at second. It made a great stop. I mean, he wasn't just a fan favorite for Cincinnati. people knew him beyond measures. And it's one of those things where, era today, you really didn't know, like, it wasn't a common entity that we saw that players were being traded. And so it was, to me, let me just get back here. I got to finish downloading some of the games. I apologize. But to me, it was a big deal to see, to watch the players such as them. When I heard the notion that he got traded, he's no longer with the Reds, and that he's playing for a different uniform, it became so unsurreal. So I'm glad that the Reds were able to bring him back, sign him on a 1-day deal, and he can get his stars in Cincinnati. Another thing that I hope that happens is that Joey Votto will get a chance to do something very similar. So who knows? Aaron Harang, workhorse for the Reds from '03 to 2010, led the National League in wins and strikeouts in 2006, ranks high in the franchise history for strikeouts. Sanders, who played for the Reds, key player from in the '90s, '91 to '98, was 1995 All-Star, known for the power and speed. Finished his Reds career with 125 home runs and 158 stolen bases. Lou Piniella guided the Reds to the World Series championships in the 1990. His first year with the team, sweeping the Oakland Athletics. They will be recognized. Our ceremony of the induction will be beginning at 6:15 on Saturday. Brandon Phillips has signed a 1-year contract to officially retire as the Reds. There will be various Hall of Famers, including Bronson Arroyo, Johnny Bench, Sean Casey, are scheduled to do autographs and free meet and greet sessions before the game. Tickets are still available. We invite you to go out to the game. The it's so fascinating to me, and I actually want to see if I can pull this up. Let me see if I can find the article. So we know a lot about sports, relationships, and so on. It's hard to think about, we see Travis Kelsey, and Taylor Swift. We've seen then in the WWE, you normally see a lot of relationships within each other. Aleister Black, Zelina Vega. Um, you see Jimmy Uso and Naomi. You see Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. So it's common entity, right? CM Punk, AJ Styles. No secret there. Jade Cargill has really had a uptight, close relationship of exposure. But for those who don't know, Jade Cargill, former WWE Women's Champion, who just competed at WrestleMania 42, she was, she is married to Brandon Phillips, Cincinnati Reds. And so she gets a chance to speak on this retirement. And I want to see if Jade Cargill, this is what she had to say about his induction this Saturday for the Cincinnati Reds. She says, he's worked so hard. He loves the Cincinnati Reds. He's always wanted to be a Reds for life. So we're excited to go back to Cincinnati. And to me, it's just like, all right, it's bigger than life in a sense, because you have Jade Cargill, who's a professional wrestler. That's her field. That's her line of work. That's what her excellenceness has given her. And then you're pairing it up to Brandon Phillips, and now you're just taking forget about wrestling, forget about the actual on field, and you got to put that aside for a moment and share a moment that I'll be looking forward to see Saturday afternoon when it comes to when Brandon Phillips, and it's just I think it's pretty cool, to be able to share Cincinnati Reds, the city of Cincinnati have some sort of close relations to the WWE. So, congratulations to the upcoming inductees into the Hall of Fame, and we wish that a best of luck endeavors into whatever's going on for them. Well, let's take a look real quick down on the farm. The All of our minor league teams are halfway through a series. Let's kind of give you an up to date. We'll start off with the Louisville Bats, who are 14-10. They go up against the Iowa Cubs on the road. The Bats have so far took 2 out of 3 in a 6-game series, which continues tonight in Iowa. First pitch 8:08. Iowa Cubs are 12-11. The Bats won game 1 on Tuesday, dropped game 2 and won 1-0 in yesterday's ball game. Our Double-A affiliates, the Chattanooga Lookouts, are 15-13 as they so far are 3-0 in a 6-game series against the Knoxville Smokies on the road. Their upcoming game tonight, first pitch is at 7 o'clock. The Smokies are coming in with an 8-8 record or 8-10 record, trying to turn things around. Our Single-A Dayton Dragons play with a 9-8 record against the South Bend Cubs. They're at home, but Cubs enter in with a 10-5 record. The Cubs lead the series 2-1 so far in 6 games. They won game. The Dragons lost the first game 16-10. Won Wednesday 8-5. Lost on Thursday 10-4. First pitch tonight is at 7:05. Some fun good news coming out of the Cincinnati Reds in the farm system. Nick Lodolo and catcher Jose Trevino are expected to make rehabs this weekend, as Nick Lodolo scheduled from a blistered finger, been on the IL since the beginning of the season. Looks to make his another start appearance in rehab for the Dragons this Sunday. He did try to pitch an outing, only went 2/3 of an inning, and really got shut down because of that blistered finger. We hope that things turn around for him and he can make that main roster in the upcoming weeks. Jose Trevino, who's been on the IL since April 8th due to a thoracic spine strain, looks to make some rehab starts as catcher with the Dayton Dragons beginning this weekend. It's, here's the challenging part. I like T. Higgins. Been very moved what is going on with Higgins and all that, what he's able to bring to the table at the major league level. I don't know if I'm ready for Jose Trevino to come back and to make a spotlight. So, but I guess time will tell, right? But that is your minor league news update here for the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Bearcats begin a 3-game series this week tonight. First pitch, against the West Virginia Mountaineers start at 6 p.m. Tonight is staff appreciation and it's also Bearcats at the beach. Tomorrow's game will be at 3 p.m. and they will conclude the 3-game series on Sunday at 1 p.m. Sunday's game is Bark at the Park and Kids Run the Bases Day. Bearcats enter in with a 27-16 record. They are 8-10 in conference play on a 1-game losing streak. They are 15-5 at home coming into this series. West Virginia Mountaineers are 27-10. They are also 12-6 in conference play on 1-game losing streak. They are 15-5 on the road. If I can compare these two teams, this is going to be one of the biggest matchups that test that the Bearcats are going to have to face. Which, if you are a Bearcat fan, all 3 games, you could either head down to the stadium, get away from the Reds, or check them out on ESPN Plus. All right, let's jump into our NBA playoffs here as we get you guys ready for the weekend. Just jump over scores. Last night's ball game, we saw the Atlanta Hawks beat the New York Knicks 109 to 108. The Raptors beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 126 to 104. And the Timberwolves beating the Denver Nuggets 113 to 96. Timberwolves have increased their record to 2-1 in the series. Raptors have came back to now make it 2-1 in their series, and the Atlanta Hawks is also 2-1 in their series. Tonight's action will also be available on Amazon Prime. Beginning tip-off is at 7 o'clock, where the Celtics take on the 76ers. The series is split at 1 apiece. At 8 o'clock, the Los Angeles Lakers take on the Houston Rockets. The Lakers lead the series 2-0. And at 10:30, the San Antonio Spurs will take on the Portland Trail Blazers. The series split is at 1 apiece. On Saturday, we'll have 4 games here coming your way. The first game will be on NBCS starting at 1 o'clock, with the Detroit Pistons take on the Orlando Magic. The series is currently tied at 1-1 apiece. It will be taking place at the Kia Center in Orlando, Florida. At 3:30 p.m. on NBC, the Oklahoma City Thunders take on the Phoenix Suns. Oklahoma City leads the series 2-0. It'll be taking place at the Mortgage Matchup Center in Oklahoma, or in Phoenix, Arizona. Excuse me. At 6 p.m. on NBC, we'll see the New York Knicks taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta leads 2-1. It'll be taking place at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The Denver Nuggets final tip-off at 8:30 on ABC takes on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota leads 2-1, taking place at the Target Center in Minneapolis. On Sunday, there will be another 4 games as the Cleveland Cavaliers take on the Toronto Raptors at 1 o'clock on ESPN. Cleveland leads a 2-1 series. The San Antonio Spurs and the Portland Trail Blazers are the second game on here. They come into this series tied at 1 apiece. The tip-off is at 3:30. They'll also be available at ESPN. At 7 o'clock on NBC, we'll see the Celtics and 76ers as that series is tied. And at 9:30, on NBC, we'll see the Lakers and the Rockets. And that will be concluding your weekend basketball. WWE SmackDown is coming your way tonight to wrap up. We'll like to see what um, comes our way here as we are still on the fallout to WrestleMania 42. And the biggest question to me that I like to approach is, what's the next opponent direction for Cody Rhodes? Obviously, he came out on Monday telling CM Punk that he could have his match, when just name your time and place and where. Well, that's all fine and dandy, and I think I'd be a valid to seeing that. But Randy Orton left a big mark after WrestleMania Night 1, so much so it left a huge bruise on Cody Rhodes. Now, to me, if it was me putting myself in this position, I don't know why I'd put Cody Rhodes out there on Monday. Sure, I want people to see what Randy Orton did to him and the bruises that he was left upon. But for me, the question is that if he is hurt, although he retained the WWE Championship, Randy Orton had the last word. Left him bloody, left him beaten, and left him lifeless in the center of the ring. And so now, on one hand, Cody Rhodes has opened a challenge to CM Punk. On the other hand, Cody Rhodes is still facing and has unfinished business with Randy Orton, which at the level I'm at, all I'm figuring that this should roll over into Backlash on May 9th, but there should be a better stipulation where it could level the playing field here. But I just don't understand that concept. We also see Paige return. I would like to see on SmackDown tonight, and also Trick Williams. This is a new era of SmackDown. Who could be getting called up? According to Talks, there are 6 contenders that could be getting called up. Well, we just saw Jordan Grace return last week. Although she dropped her match to Tiffany Stratton, there's some other big influence. Lola Vice is named one of them as projections. Kalani Jordan, another one that I like to see called up. Jada Parker, who we've been waiting for. Blake Monroe. We're not wasting no time. Ricky Saints. JC Jane. JC Jane is someone who has really revolutionized herself from Fatal Influence, Singles Run, and she is, I think, a new badass. And these call ups will create some sort of interesting viewpoints and storylines as we move into this next state. According to the ITRWrestling.com, Cody Rhodes WWE Alley accused of sending death threats to a woman. As reported by TMZ, the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department has received a complaint against Cody Rhodes' Alley Jelly Roll. The town country and music artist has been involved in quite an ugly conflict against comedian Nicole Arbor. The Canadian artist has informed the police about death threats that the WWE star gave to her. So far, the MNPD hasn't filed a case on the musician. The report stated that representatives from the police department said, and I quote, "You are probably aware there appears to be an ongoing online back and forth between the two. No charges have been filed, and there is no current investigation underway as part of MBPD." So Jelly Roll is accused of death threats against a woman. Cops said no investigation. You can read that online if you like to. Let's go. What's going on for WWE SmackDown? Some changes look like we're making underway here. SmackDown, according to Cage Side Seats tonight, uh, doesn't look like WWE is bringing back the draft show anytime soon. And it could be a good thing. SmackDown tonight with a live show emanating from Dick's Arena in Fort Worth, Texas. This is the first episode of SmackDown, just 3 weeks to build towards WWE Backlash. It's the week after WrestleMania 42. We'll see what happens with championships, any matches projected. Paige, her return, we'll expect to see her. Tiffany Stratton defeated Jordan Grace last week to become the number one contender for the Women's United States Champion, Julia. Stratton and Julia is taking place tonight or on Backlash. Tonight's episode is 3 hours. So, one of the things we're going to save our conversation. We're saving our conversation for backlash predictions. I already know that people have their backlash predictions kind of in place, and we could review some of those on Monday. But I wanted to share this final story before I finish off the weekend with you. And it's about getting ready. How far do you think the WWE needs to think? Paul Heyman said something in an interview that really spoke to me. When he learned that WWE WrestleMania 43 was going to be in Saudi Arabia next year, that he was already thinking, well, what are the plans for that WrestleMania? Because it's inevitable that sometimes storylines need to be told backwards. You need to work backwards at the storyline. And I loved Paul Heyman's statement towards this because he was very clear. He was like, let's go ahead and make our match card for WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia and work backwards to make our match card for WrestleMania 42. That way, everything has a purpose and makes sense for why we are doing it. And so I wanted to look into now, based off of what we saw at WrestleMania, what can we right now, what do we want to see heading into WrestleMania 43? I understand that that's a year away, but storylines now, we've seen this in the past. The Rock has painted storylines for years to come. Cody Rhodes has those storylines for the following WrestleMania. What storylines are now that are possible indications that we could see a feud for WrestleMania 43? Or what matches in WrestleMania 43 do you guys see fit? Leads me back to the big question that gets shut down every time that everyone wants to talk about it. Matter of fact, it's so much hated that people refuse to talk about it anymore because they don't believe we're gonna ever see it. But is the anticipation for The Rock and Roman Reigns in hindsight WrestleMania 43? And have we seen by Roman Reigns winning the World Heavyweight Championship, by the reuniting with the Bloodline? Has this been the start of the development with The Rock at WrestleMania? Could these be the little small buildups that we see in this feud that could lead towards Saudi Arabia? For me, that is a huge match, and I would like to see that match at WrestleMania 40. If there is, we have predicted year in and year out so many other, times that it would be right here, right now. But one thing about the Bloodline story is that this story is not being told within a period of time. It's a lifestyle. It's something that is being told over a generation. So everything that happened with the Bloodline that was fresh cools down. Has that cooled down enough? The saga number one here. Now we're in saga number two, and does that see The Rock and Roman Reigns face each other? WrestleMania 43, anytime, anywhere, I'm open. Does Cody Rhodes and CM Punk find each other with or without a title? It doesn't matter at WrestleMania 43. And is that a match that people want to see? Where does Oba Femi, a year from now, as he has re-declared himself as the beast of the jungle, the ruler of the jungle? He beat the beast incarnate himself. As a matter of fact, he beat him and put him in retirement. Has he, where does he fit already looking ahead at WrestleMania 43? Are any young talented coming up from NXT, whether it's Ethan Page or um, Sol Ruka or possible one of the names I just mentioned, do they have a role for WrestleMania? Where does Charlotte fit at WrestleMania 43? So over the weekend, I'm gonna leave you with this question. As if you were to book WrestleMania 43 right now, Saudi Arabia next year, based off of what we saw at WrestleMania 42, based off of who we have on the roster today, what would you like to see as a show? Let me remind you that this show is we can't go to it. You're not going to fly out to Saudi Arabia and attend to it. You're going to have to be entertained from your seat of your living room or wherever you're going to watch it at. So if you have to be entertained in a limitation in a capacity space, what does those matches look like so that you're entertained as a fan? I want you to let me know down in the comments. We will come back on Monday and have those conversations. On Monday, we will also, Monday, maybe Tuesday, I want to give you my predictions of Backlash on top of whatever matches have already been said. I'm sure matches, with 3 weeks being away, we're going to start finding matches early on. I know Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns is a one that's on my radar. We possibly see tag team championships, the Street Profits taking on the Vision as well. But I kind of want to give you in that perspective. We'll talk about the NFL draft and how the Cincinnati Reds did this weekend here coming up next week. We are glad that we're at the end of a week. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. Please follow us on our social media pages. We are on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And please be sure to download us. Listen to us on the road. Don't miss a single podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, anywhere you get your podcasting needs at, we're there. Thank you guys for tuning in to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.